Hey, what's up you guys? Matt Thibeau here with Savant Marketing Agency, and in this video, I'm going to talk about what to do if you're stuck at around $500,000 in sales per year with your construction business and you're trying to scale to $1 million or more. And I see this a lot. Most of the people we talk to are usually around the $500 to $1 million range. And what I've noticed from the people who are at the $1 million range or more are doing these things really well. So if you are at the 300 to 500, maybe 600 range, and you've been stuck there for a while and you're trying to figure out how can I scale my business, then I'm going to talk about the 3 things within that's going to help you scale. And we're going to go into some specifics, and I'll share with you some insights that I found that work really, really well for helping you do this. So let's jump right into things, right? And so if you're stuck at around the $500,000 range in sales per year mark, then there's usually 3 things that are holding you back. Number 1, operations. Number 2, sales. And number 3, your team. So let's first talk about operations. The problem is with a lot of contractors is that they'll typically get stuck in the operations. You know, I was talking to a gentleman the other day and he actually was messaging me saying, I'm actually thinking of giving up this trade just because I have 0 time. I'm working 11 hours a day. I have like no real time for anything. I feel like I'm working all the time, but I'm not making that much money. This is an issue with operations. And this is where usually people will cap out and they're going to be spending a lot of time working and not a lot of time making any money or building out a team, right? And so if you want to be a real entrepreneur and not just, okay, cool. And not just someone who is just like working all the time, right? Like you want to not to be a craftsman, you want to be a business person. And so the best way to achieve that is to gain leverage, And the way that you gain leverage in operations is you need to build out systems. So the way to build out systems is to do something called an SOP, a standard operating procedure. Now, what does this look like? The problem with operations is the more custom that you make things, right? So you're doing all these customized things for clients, and every time that you do something, it's always different slightly, then it's going to be very difficult for you to actually scale your business. Right? The enemy of scaling is going to be complexity. So we want to make things less complex, right? We want simplicity. Because the more complex things are in your business and the more moving parts there are, it's going to be more and more difficult for you to scale. And so what an SOP is a standard operating procedure. This is where basically you write out a guide or hey, this is how we do things around here, so that you could hand those instructions to someone and they could follow them without knowing how to actually do it previously and be able to kind of make it and get it right. And so this is what Michael Gerber in the E-Myth talked about McDonald'sizing your business, is that great businesses are not built upon great people, they're built upon great systems. And so if your operations are too reliant on the people in your business, then you're going to have a very difficult time growing it to the 7-figure mark. And so the first thing you have to look at, if you're stuck at around the $500,000 mark with your business and you want to scale, is simplifying your operations and documenting your operations so that anybody could follow those operational guidelines or instructions and be able to operate your business. And this is going to make it very much more easy for you to scale your business as you grow. So number 2, let's talk about sales. This is also a big issue for a lot of contractors who are stuck at the 500K mark. The problem with a lot of contractors is that they rely too heavily on referrals to be able to grow. The reason that they do this is because referrals are probably the easiest sale that you're ever going to close. It also requires no marketing. You just do a good job for people and then they'll refer you someone, right? And this is how a lot of construction businesses have their foundation of their sales. The problem with relying too heavily on referrals is that eventually you're going to cap out or plateau if you're trying to actually grow your business, because there's no repeatable or predictable way to be able to scale referrals, right? And so what you need to do if you want to start increasing your sales is you need to get a couple things right. The first thing is you need to get your lead generation right. And the way to get your lead generation right is you need to be able to figure out advertising. You need to be able to figure out how to make advertising work for you in a predictable manner that okay, we put in $50 or $100 and we acquire a customer. We put in $200 and we acquire a customer, whatever it is. But you need to get to the point where you know exactly what does it cost per customer in advertising and how do we scale that? Because then it's just spending more on advertising to acquire more clients so you can control that, right? The other aspect of sales is actually understanding appointment setting and being able to actually have some kind of sales ability, right? Like once the lead comes in, a lot of contractors don't actually understand how to book appointments or how to get their sales on point from there, right? And so you could be getting all the leads in the world from your lead generation advertising, but if you don't have your appointment setting on point and you don't understand like how to get on the phone with someone, talk to them, book the appointment, and then close the deal, then it's going to be very difficult for you to start scaling your business, right? And so it's really important to be able to figure out the sales aspect, because once you have the operations aspect down pat, the sales aspect is what's going to help you be able to generate more jobs, right? Like you need to, if you want to scale your business, then you need to be able to get more jobs. And the only way to do that is to figure out the advertising aspect, lead generation, and then be able to get the sales on point as well. Now, the next and final thing is building out a solid team. This is something that a lot of contractors also struggle with. Maybe they have the operations down and maybe they have the sales down, but they just don't have the team in place to be able to fulfill on all of the work that's coming in. Now, this is something that I've definitely seen in the past year or so be difficult for a lot of contractors, but I've also seen a lot of contractors have a lot of success here. The reason that a lot of contractors struggle with building a team is that they haven't figured out a crucial element of that portion, and that is recruiting, right? So recruiting is a very important aspect of building your team. And this isn't just, someone in my sphere comes along and I think we might hire them or whatever. There's a lot of different aspects that go into building a team, but one of them is being able to be successful at recruiting and keeping someone. Now, recruiting is basically advertising, because you need to be able to advertise your business on platforms like Facebook or different job platforms like Indeed or Craigslist or ZipRecruiter or some of these different job hiring platforms, or maybe Facebook groups of your local community. You need to be able to constantly be looking for who can I hire for this position and be able to pitch your business in a sense that's going to go beyond just, hey, we're paying this much. Because these days people want to work somewhere that has a great culture, that has maybe good benefits, and they know that you actually have your stuff together. You're not just going to be all over the place, right? And so this is another important aspect that's going to take some time for you to figure out. When it comes to building a team, I have another training in here that I've actually pinned. It's an interview with Brian Diamond. He talks all about things like onboarding, how to onboard someone properly, how to keep employees happy, right? And how to build leadership in your team. Because you don't just want a group of like minions, right? Like little people, figuratively, who work under you and are just taking orders. You want to be able to empower someone to be a leader within your business so that they can manage and be autonomous, right? And so building out a solid team and leadership is something that I've personally been learning a lot about as our team at Savant Marketing grows. And so the important aspect that I've learned in this is that you need to be able to be a leader yourself and empower other people to be leaders, and constantly be looking for talent, because it's not just going to come to you, right? I don't think a lot of contractors put a lot of effort in building a team, and so they just get stuck on this hamster wheel, never being able to put attention towards building a solid team. And so these are the three things that I commonly see that hold contractors back from scaling from 500 to $1 million. And usually it's because the operations are too complex. They don't have a lead generation system in place that's predictable, and their sales process is kind of wonky. And then they don't really have a solid team in place, or they don't have a system to recruit people and bring them into their team to be able to help with production. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or anything else, comment below, ask away. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, give it a like. And guys, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.